Welcome to 4,000 Weeks, the weekly audio dispatch from 4kweeks.com. Why don't astronomers like Orion's belt? That is the setup to the dad joke of the week. Why don't astronomers like Orion's belt? I am Spencer, owner of 4K Weeks and novice at trying to make the most of my life, sharing it with you guys each week in an effort to make the whole world better for all of us, because that's what's awesome. It is week 30 of the year 2025. What can you tolerate? What can you endure? That's what I've been thinking about this week. First, though, it's time for you to walk over to your 4K Weeks poster and fill in another square. Are you done? Okay, walk over there, fill it in, come back. My mom told me, she said she watched a YouTube video of this podcast, and she told me that I needed to stand still more. So I'm going to endeavor to do that because I am a good son. What can you endure? What can you tolerate? There's this great clip, I'm sure you've seen it if you've ever been on social media, about weak men and tough times. And it's linked in the email. And, basically it just says good men, your strong men create good times create weak men create tough times create strong men, etc. And it's actually, you should watch the clip. It's really good. It does a better job than I do of explaining it. It doesn't have to be men, of course. There is just absolutely no question that my family and your family is pulled into the future, prepared for what is to come due to the equal labor of the two partners in the relationship. No question about it. And so it doesn't have to be men. It's just, shorthand, I guess. And these times that we are in are slightly tougher times than my previous 40 years. I'm not sure if you feel that way, but it is demonstrably true in all of the evidence that the first 40 years, well, let's see, 40, yeah, at least 40, maybe a little more. The first 40 years of my life were one of the most peaceful times to grow up and to be a human being. And it's getting a little bit more tumultuous around the world. I think that's it's all cycles. This is not a political statement, right? Everybody knows that things are tougher now and seem likely to get a bit tougher before they get easier. One of my good friends always says, these are the good old days. I think that's true almost all the time, right? Anyone who's hearkening back to the halcyon, is that the way you say the word? Halcyon days of typically this is the best time. And I think that may even be true, even though this is a turbulent time. But who cares? Whatever. I digress. I want to know, what can you endure? What can you tolerate? And I would argue that you're not enduring it if you're bitching and moaning about it, right? That's not tolerating. That's not enduring. That's suffering something. None of us can, on our own, wrench the trajectory of our culture into the direction of the good times. It's not a thing that a person can do by themselves. It takes all of us. And I think the irony is that just by buckling down and preparing to tolerate the tough times is how you bring about the good times, the easy times. And I think this is true. It's a weird conundrum of human existence, that this is true in exercise, right? Preparing yourself for the future age-related decline that you will experience. And it's also true in the sweep of history. Buckling down and doing the hard thing is what makes things easier. It's weird. I say all the time to my wife, sweet, I exercised really hard today so that I can exercise really hard tomorrow. Week 30 of 1917, Margarita Gertrudia Zell, who performed as the exotic dancer Mata Hari, went on trial, this is in France, for allegedly spying for Germany. Her spying was was said to have caused the death of thousands of French soldiers. It makes you wonder what people's motivations are, that they thought that spying for Germany in World War I against her country was a good idea. I don't know. It's weird. It's hard to know what's what. She was 2,137 weeks old, or 40.98 years old. The quote of the week. The quote of the week is from Epictetus. There's been a lot from Epictetus lately. We're on an Epictetus tear. Keep silence for the most part, and speak only when you must, and then briefly. Keep silence for the most part, and speak only when you must, and then briefly. Epictetus. I am so bad at this. This is my least competent arena, I think, keeping my mouth shut. Just the other day, we were buying a car for my daughter. My wife and I are sitting in front of the salesman. We had gotten to the point of negotiating the price, and I was talking, and my wife just looked over me and laughed a little bit. And we talked about it later, and I knew why. It's because I just can't seem to shut my mouth. I don't know if you've read Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. It's a book about negotiation. It's very good. And, basically he says, say the thing and shut up. And I am so bad at it. And I think it's because I have strong opinions, and if I don't air them, then oh my goodness, the world will be deprived of my wit and humor and intelligence. But then I need to remember this is a note to myself, I need to remember that most things don't matter at all. And some things matter a little bit. And there are vanishingly few things that really, really matter. So save the words for when things really matter. And if you are asking yourself if this matters, it doesn't. Epictetus is such a boss. Literally the most concentrated, like orange juice from concentrate. It's a tube of wisdom that you could put into the pitcher of your life and dilute. And it is so, that was a weird metaphor, so spectacular. Okay, what I consumed this week. I got to say real quick, since I just had to stop the podcast because I screwed something up, which I rarely do. And because of that, the video, I'm watching a loop of the video behind the video that I'm currently recording. And I realize now in watching it that I shift side to side the whole time that I'm talking. And that must be what my mom is talking about. And it's super distracting. I'm sorry. I am definitely an amateur at this. Okay, what I consumed this week. The first thing that I consumed is this cartoon. You got to see it in the email. Let's see if I can pull it up on my computer real quick. Oh yeah, there we go. I got it. Hold on. I got my computer in front of me right here just so I can read this to you. Here's the caption. It's a guy unloading a dishwasher. You should go look at it. Realizing that not every moment in life will be deep or meaningful or vibrating with energy that would give him the fulfillment that he'd always hoped for, Todd unloaded the dishwasher. Yeah, that's the truth. Sometimes you just got to unload the dishwasher. What else did I consume? Okay, Freakonomics Radio. What does it cost to lead a creative life? So like as a person who makes one parts of his living on creative output, I really like hearing about how other creative, I put that in quotes, creative people do it. And I liked the interview. It's Stephen Dubner of Freakonomics Radio and David Ajme, I believe is how you say his name. He is the writer of the play Stereophonic that just won a whole bunch of awards, a while ago, won a whole bunch of awards. Very interesting conversation. I am also reading this book, 10 to 25, The Science of Motivating Young People by David Yeager. I'm reading this book for two reasons, both for my role as a father and for my role as a business owner who wants to help young people kind of grow into their full potential. And it is so, probably 50 pages into it, maybe. A small section. I've read like the first two chapters or something, and it is so far holding up. There's a lot of stuff from like, okay, I'm gonna have to read that again because it's such a good nugget of wisdom. Okay, what I am thinking about this week, I'm gonna tell you a riveting story about a thunderstorm right now, because what I'm thinking about this week is who wants you on their boat. My wife is reading this book. I forgot to write the title in the email My wife will fix that tomorrow before the email goes out. So you'll have to go there to read this book, to figure out what book it is. I don't think she likes the book. I think the story is compelling to her. And right before bed, this was Wednesday night, she was explaining the story to me right before bed. Like I was already in bed reading, and she was like, I'm reading this book and I don't really like it, but I want to hear, and I was like, well, what's it about? And so she said, it's based on a true story of a couple while out on the ocean on a boat. It's a freak accident. Their boat starts sinking and they are forced onto their lifeboat. And they have about 10 minutes to get from the boat to the lifeboat. And they have to survive for weeks based on the things that they grabbed in those 10 minutes. And then basically the force of will of this woman who is just like keeping them from perishing with her own force of will. And she basically, the reason she didn't want to keep reading the book is that the male character, the husband, is just such a mealy-mouthed, whiny, soft belly. So that was like the main reason she didn't want to keep reading it. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And so we were talking about whether or not she should keep reading it. She's like, well, I kind of want to see how it ends. So I think she finished it just the other day. But that is what happened as we were going to bed. And then cut to 3:15 a.m. that night/morning. And it has been absolutely pouring since 9 p.m. Raining, an amount of rain that we don't typically get. It turns out after the fact, it was about 6.5 inches in, I don't know how many hours are between 9 and 4 in the morning. And so suddenly there's this huge crack of thunder and lightning right behind our house, and our power goes out. And I lean up and I look at my wife and I say, the power went out. And she said, yeah, I know. And so my wife got up to check on the kids, and I am still laying there in the dark. And whatever, it's a thunderstorm, the power's out, it's night, who cares? Except then a few things occur to me. First, it's been raining a long time, and there's likely water in the sump pump in the basement. And the next thing I think is I should have really solved the battery backup problem for the sump pump by now. And then my next thought is, our power likely went out because the transformer at the back of our large lot was hit. And I don't know if you know anything about power outages, but the power company typically deals with the big chunks first. And so if you have a localized power outage, if it's just you and your neighbors, it's likely going to be a while before they get power back to you, right? Because they do the big things first so they can turn on 1,000 people's power at once, right? And the lightning and thunder was right behind our house, and I felt like, dang it, maybe the transformer got hit. And so there's a very real possibility in my mind that we will not have power until later tomorrow. And so then I was like, man, I should get up and go look. I should go check on the sump pump because it's been raining so long, and now we don't have power to operate the sump pump. So I get up and I go downstairs in the pitch black, and I get a few flashlights, and I kind of crawl under the basement stairs to see where the sump pump is. And sure enough, the sump pump is halfway full. And so I think to myself, all right, well, I need data. I should go get a tape measure and see how fast it's rising. I look down in there. I'm like, yeah, it's about halfway full. And by the time I get back, before I even put the tape measure in it, I can tell it's already risen like 3 inches. And I was like, maybe a minute, maybe 45 seconds. And the whole thing is only 24 inches deep. And so our basement is, it's still a basement, but it's full of our exercise equipment. All of the Lego is down there. It's disorganized like most basements are. It's going to be a disaster if water starts flooding in here. It's going to be a big pain in the butt. And so I think to myself, okay, I need to start removing water from the sump pump. And so I'm looking around, what can I have that I can use? And now, mind you, we also have a radon pump in the basement. Radon is a problem in this part of the country. Radon is a gas under the ground that just kind of seeps up out. And it's fine when it just seeps out normally because it goes up into the air. But in basements, underneath the slabs, it gets trapped and actually is a leading cause of, I think, lung cancer in the United States if you don't have a pump pulling that radon out. But what that means is that everything else needs to be sealed, so the pump is only pulling from one spot. So our sump pump the top is sealed fairly effectively. Now, I could have gotten into it, but it's not like I can dip buckets in there very easily. And so I'm looking around, I'm thinking, what can I use? What can I use to solve this fairly time-sensitive problem? I mean, I think, based on how quickly it's rising, I got 5 minutes before it tops over the tops it. And when I get in this mode, which is a mode that I'm familiar with being in, because I am a problem solver at heart, and this mode is like a nothing matters but solving this one problem, laser-focused tunnel vision. When I get in that mode, it can seem stressful and intense to those around me. And now at this point, I've been downstairs for probably 5 minutes, and my wife has been upstairs checking on the kids and everything, and she knows now that I'm not up there and what's going on. So she has come downstairs, and she's starting to experience this state of me, which she is used to. And when this happens internally, I'm very calm and focused and analytical. I deal very well with stress. It's genetic, I think. But it is a high energy focused state of being. And so in my mind, I'm cycling through a whole bunch of options. And I realized that the best plan is to use this small battery powered shop vac that I have to suck the water out of the sump pump. And then I can pour it. I've got a 5-gallon bucket. So the shop vac will hold a couple of gallons. I can pour it into the 5-gallon bucket. Do that 2 times, deal with the bucket, right? My idea, actually, because tunnel vision is not a good thing often, I was going to run it upstairs and chuck it outside. And my wife had the genius idea of pouring it down the floor drain in the basement. Now, I will say that you say, well, why didn't you just let it go into the floor drain? We have 2 levels in our basement because of a remodel. And so the floor drain is actually higher in the other part of the basement than the basement that I was in. This part of the basement, the new part, is 3 feet lower than the other basement. So my wife saved me that whole big issue because I was going to walk it up the stairs and throw it outside, right? So I start doing it. I've sucked 5 gallons of water out of there. Basically I can get it lowered to about halfway before I have to dump the 5-gallon bucket and then come back. And by the time I come back, it's already risen back to where we were. So I'm just barely keeping it at bay right now. And so then I have another thought. I have 2 batteries here in the basement. They're 2 5 amp hour batteries. I know about how long those will run this shop back. I have 8 more batteries in my shop, which is 5 minutes away from my house. I think there were a few more in the shed, but I thought to myself, that's probably a waste of time because they're probably all drained or close to drained. And so I think I should get the water as low as I can, and then I should go to the shop and get the batteries. And I wonder how long I can keep at this. I think by 7 a.m., I likely can go get my good friend's, it's called a jackery. It's basically like a power supply for AC power. You can plug things into it, right? And then I could just plug the sump pump in and it would be running. So it's, between 3 and 4 right now. So I start making cycles of sucking water out of the sump pump, filling the 5-gallon bucket, dumping it in the drain. And each time it's rising, right? So if you think about the way water comes into a basement, it doesn't, the rain happens for a while and the ground can absorb a certain amount of rain without water going into the sump pump. And then after a while, the ground kind of gets saturated and that water table starts rising. And then, there's drain tile all the way around the foundation. It starts pouring in. So it's like it peaks and starts increasing for a while. So it's getting worse. It hasn't come over the top yet. I've been able to keep it down, but it's getting, it's not frantic, but it's not frantic, right? So by this time, I don't know how long I've been down there, 10 or 15 minutes. My wife has brought me clothes because I am still barefoot and shirtless in my PJ shorts because I just came downstairs, was confronted with a problem that needed immediate attention and started dealing with it, right? And it seems like I'm probably going to be doing this all night. And that's fine. Once you set your intention, like this is what I'm doing, you stop being sad about the fact that you don't get to sleep from the hours of 3:30 until 7, right? You just do the thing. And so I'm standing there. I've gotten the sump pump low enough I grab the clothes that she has gotten me. I'm getting ready to change in them. And the miracle of all miracles, the power comes back on. The sump pump starts chugging along. I mean, immediately. It's just so glorious. It was like nirvana. The power clicked on. I can hear various devices in the basement beeping as they come back on with power. And then the sump pump just goes and runs for about 2 minutes, pumps all the water out, and it's all good. And the whole thing took about 35 minutes. So from the moment I walked down there to the moment the power went on, I actually looked back at we have the sump pump on a tracker, and I could see when it stopped and when it started again. And so, okay, so now it's over, right? I mean, there's a whole bunch I didn't mention. I'm clearing stuff out. I cleared a whole area so I could work, blah, blah, blah. It was just like an intense 35 minutes. And later on, after my wife has made sleepy time tea for my kids, who both woke up and, made it for herself, trying to get everybody to calm, lower the heart rates, go back to sleep. And I'm in bed, and my wife is getting ready to come to bed, and I say to her, I'm sorry for how intense. And she stopped me there, and she said, no need to say anything else. I want you on my boat. And that was just like such a delightful thing to hear, because it just means that she sees the strength and weakness in all of that, right? And so the question is for you, and the question about this story is that, are you an asset to the people on your boat, or are you a liability? Are you the kind of person who both is a problem solver when the shit hits the fan, and also is okay to be around when the problem is getting solved, right? Like, I want my wife on my boat too. And that's probably why we have a very happy and successful marriage, that neither one of us sees the other one as a liability. And we all should be walking around trying not to be a liability to any of the people in our sphere, right? And the people you walk by at the grocery store, you should not be a liability to those people. I think that's like the minimum you can offer them. And I think this, nearly every personal attribute can be judged by this question. Are you an asset to the people on your boat, or a liability? Your attitude, your aptitude, right? Attitude is this moment. Aptitude is how well you have built skills over the course of your lifetime in a productive way. Your personality, that's not set in stone. Some people are not fun to be around, and that is a liability. Your mood, right? Mood is totally under your control. Well, mostly under your control, right? You can be in a bad mood, recognize you're in a bad mood, tell the people around you you're in a bad mood, and then try not to be in a bad mood. That person is welcome on my boat. If you can understand that you're in a bad mood, communicate that to me and then work on changing it. I can't ask you to do any better than that. Your communication skills, every single personal attribute can be judged as a success or a failure on the question of, are you an asset to the people on your boat, or a liability? And I think in every attribute, you should try to be the person that when the shit hits the fan, people want you on their boat. And if you do that, this is the secret part that I think we don't often talk about. If you do that, you will find yourself on a boat full of people that you want to be on a boat with, right? Because like attracts like. If you're surrounded by people who you don't care for, maybe look in the mirror for a minute and wonder why you are attracting those people. Okay, that's it. That's the kind of frantic 35-minute story of my Wednesday night, Thursday morning. Also, just an asterisk here, regarding the brass tacks of a sump pump. If you have a sump pump, pumpspy.com, pumpspy.com is the tracker that we have on the sump pump, so I know when power goes out, and it texts a few people when power goes out, because we might not be home. And then they also have a battery backup that is currently on its way to us right now, because fool me once, as a wise man once said, fool me once, fool me can't get fooled again. Okay. Let's see. What do I owe you? Ooh, I still owe you the punchline to the dad joke of the week. So we'll just wait a second here as it scrolls beyond. And I'll say this, if you have a minute, forward this email to a friend, subscribe it, rate it, review it. That is a super awesome way to say thank you to me for there being no ads. And so there's not a 5-minute ad break at the beginning of the podcast, a 5-minute ad break in the middle of the podcast, and a 5-minute ad break at the end of the podcast. So annoying. When did 5 minutes become the appropriate amount of ads? Oh my goodness. Also, go read the email, send it to a friend. You can subscribe to it if you have not subscribed to it. I really appreciate you guys being here to listen. The dad joke of the week. Why don't astronomers like Orion's belt? Why don't astronomers like Orion's belt? Because it's a big waste of space. That one's pretty groany. I give that 2 groans this week. Have a spectacular week. I hope you don't find yourself in the midst of a problem that needs frantic solving, but if you do, I hope you feel competent, and I hope you are surrounded by people who you want to solve that problem with. Have a great week.